Volition was kind of between a rock and a hard place with Saints Row by the time Gat Out of Hell came out. At that point, they had gone so far down the well of absurdity that it was impossible to climb back out. So when they revealed that they were rebooting the series even years later, it made perfect sense. The decision to marry both new and old school Saints Row concepts is a little bolder. That strategy isn't going to appeal to everyone, but there's plenty of wackiness to find in the open world. Although it has a mostly comedic tone, and maintains the series' signature over-the-top nature mostly by means of gameplay, the new Saints Row does attempt to ground the story foundationally. In what I would call a mix of Saints Row 2 and 3, there's a push and pull with dramatic cutscenes that ingratiate the audience to the team of heroes through hardship, and scenes where you drive a property manager around in a car in silly fashion and hit sick jumps until he coughs up a deed. It runs the risk of alienating portions of both audiences, but for me, it mostly worked because of the way said silliness is worked into the core of the game. The meat of Saints Row involves the rag to riches story of the boss, that's you, and how the titular gang was started. Working as a henchman for a private military contractor, you quickly attempt to rise in the ranks and meet an abrupt end in the company. From there, a mini-mystery is concocted for the boss, but the focus mainly zips into you and your gang's personal struggle and humble origins. Compared to your fully customizable boss with multiple voice options, the core crew is static each run and often sink into the background. There are clear roles for each of them, and they mostly work within the confines of that archetype. Like a situational comedy, you're gonna like some of these characters more than others, but background noise is how I'd classify some of them at their worst. That classic Saints Row absurdity is present nearly everywhere, including bits of the campaign. Fighting droves of enemies by yourself still feels fun, as do the returning ragdoll bonus games that involve insurance fraud. It's possible to shoot a rocket launcher at a car and watch it fly 100 feet into the air, or use a piece of construction equipment to destroy buildings. As a shooter, Saints Row plays it safe, and it pays off. On Xbox Series X, aiming felt smooth, and the tried and true weapon wheel mechanic hasn't failed me yet. You won't really think about the cracks during the open world combat, which is a plus, but some of the mission layouts, coupled with the lack of weapon variety, can lead to somewhat low impact shootouts. There's still a good amount of endless goons spawn through door scenes, along with classic multi-level shootout arenas. Extra unlockable abilities, like smoke bombs, and more weapons lead down the path of customizable builds and options. Through challenge completion, which is usually attainable stuff like X near misses while driving, you'll earn more perks, or buy more perk slots with cash. Money can be earned over time through missions or the in-game cash app, which provides a flow of income based on progression. It's a cascade of upgrading, but it does come swiftly and easily. The open world is where I spent most of my time with Saints Row because Volition clearly put a lot of work into it. Even seemingly random locations can have backstories by the way of in-game lore tidbits, and every major zone has something unique to offer. The way the open world naturally progresses is nice too. Instead of being bombarded with icons, you'll discover some through doing activities on the map. It eases you into collecting pins on a map without forcing you into it. I wasn't able to test co-op, but the idea of involving drop-in, drop-out play makes returning to these open world sprees more enticing. The free roaming portion of Saints Row is where it'll speak to a lot of its audience. At one point when going from mission to mission, I noticed a vehicle signature ability unlock pop up on the screen. From there I started finishing out challenges, earning abilities, and customizing my current garage of available rides. A few hours had passed and I was basically just driving around testing out new cars and motorcycles. The driving mechanics won't gel with everyone, especially with the small early stable of vehicles, but like most things in Saints Row, they'll get the job done. I didn't have much trouble finessing through traffic like I was Nick Cage on a Series X controller, and sensitivity options are available. While doing that, I found some points of interest, all with their own lore. Then I started becoming more interested in seeing them again, and picked up on how to get around without using the map. Where it really hit me was the history segments. When finishing up an early mission, I noticed a bit of history conveyed through a poster on the wall about how the region was founded. It's a tertiary sort of story where you can completely pass it by or ignore it. But a couple hours later, I was introduced to the history submissions. Similar to the Assassin's Creed Discovery Tours, but less strictly educational, they're key activities that ask players to investigate historical monuments through plaques and information boards. Those, just like the more arcadey side stories, reward XP and cash. An open world game that lets you waste time in it for fun feels like a lost art, especially in a post-GTA 5 world, mostly barren of games like GTA. I didn't really know how I felt about Saints Row until I hit the open world segment, and this current team showed me what it's capable of. The campaign likely isn't going to strike a chord with a lot of people, but the muckabout nature of the open world map kept me playing longer than I expected. A sequel that leads into its biggest strengths has a lot of potential. Thank you for watching today's review. For more content like this, please remember to like and subscribe. To see the full written version of this review, more reviews and game news, head on over to Destructoid.com.